Hello, and welcome to a very special episode of Michael's Corner. Today, we have a special episode. This one is about education and what it is like to be an educator in the chaotic times we're in now. So, teaching in a time of crisis. What is it like? What is it like to be an educator? What is it like to be a student? First change that I noticed, something that I experienced instantly, was I was forced to move out of my comfortable dorm room. Now, of course, forced is a strong word, and I would have moved out, but the move was so abrupt. I remember going to class as normal, then one Monday afternoon, faculty said, "You have to be out by Wednesday," and I thought, that is very quick. There's not much time to move. And I can't imagine what it would be like for younger students in private establishments to have to leave as well. International students. When I had to move out, I had to leave. I just had to pack up some clothes and drive about 4 hours south. Which isn't the shortest drive in the world, but it's not the longest either. But I can't imagine what it would be like to be an international student at times like these. Now, I myself am a music student, and I've found that this change has completely affected the way that I teach and I feel about the education process. It's hard in the first place to relay musical information and try to, you know, push that that magic to somebody else, to really teach, to show somebody else the fantasy of music making and being a musician. But now, that that raw human part of the music education is somewhat lost through the pixels over radio waves. Now, when asked for some positives and negatives of the situation, I could think of a few. This whole situation is not a complete dumpster fire. I think things that were brought to me that were positive were I get to work in my time with my own schedule, and if I don't have any online courses, there's no problem if I decide to wake up at 10 a.m. or 10:30 or 11. But that means I get to work at my own pace. I know what my assignments are, and I know when they're due, and I get to work when I want to work. And that's good for me. But that can lead to a lack of motivation. And that can lead to, some procrastination of sorts. That's not entirely good, is it? Some negatives. Some are very clear to see. It takes away from that personal aspect of the music. I find that music in itself and the act of teaching and performing music is such a personable and very humanistic thing. Although bonobos can hear music and they can understand music and they can dance, as well as some of the smarter birds of the earth, I find that no other species can write the music that we write. I really doubt a chimpanzee can differentiate a major third to a minor third. Now the question is, can I? I find another aspect that can get very frustrating, and it is quite specific to certain people and certain instructors, but a type of confusion when it comes to this online course. These professors and these instructors that have never used any sort of online course, and they don't fully understand how you can create lessons and convey a message and teach over these online platforms. I found a specific instructor of mine had sent one email right at the beginning, right when everyone was sent home, and it was chaotic, to say the least. But the email was lighthearted and it wasn't too information packed. And then a few days had passed and I heard nothing from this instructor. And the days continued to roll by until it was a week, 2 weeks since that first email. I realized I had not heard from that instructor. And I thought to myself, am I missing something? Is there a secret email chain that I'm missing out on? Am I not part of a Moodle group? Is there something that I'm missing? No, we just hadn't heard from that instructor. They had not sent anything else our way, and it was confusing to say the least. I'm sure they were confused on how to properly set up some sort of class, but just the lack of communication was confusing. And as well, within that confusion, of course, this is specific to the area of study, but it is hard to create a lesson plan for classes such as music theory and aural skills. A class that depends so heavily on ear training and practicing is something that is best taught and learned in person with an instructor and a piano and a class of participants. You start to really feel that kind of disconnect from the area of study and the people that you used to see every day in your classes. There is the lack of that socialization, and I'll get into that a little bit more. So, big words, big phrases, this you see it everywhere now. It's everywhere. It's this new idea, this social distance. You need to social distance. Are you social distancing? And I find that the terminology we've been using these days is not so much dangerous, but misleading and uninformed. Social distancing versus physical distancing. Now, it's in the words here. Social distancing is bad. It's not good. It's isolation. When you social distance, you cease to create those bonds, those platonic and emotional bonds with other people. You isolate yourself. And that, of course, is not good in the long run. If you continue to keep yourself isolated, that will lead to many dangerous outcomes. But in this time of crisis, of, you know, paranoia and contagious fear, physical distancing is what we need. It's healthy right now. And the difference between these two, obviously, it's simple when you think about it, but I think that the terminology is important. Physical distancing, of course, is keeping your physical distance from someone whilst still keeping an open line of communication. Social distancing is complete isolation. And as an educator, somebody who might rely on seeing certain students at certain times of the day, merely checking in on them, that is a dangerous idea to promote. Now, how is music different? Um, I find that although the course material is different, it I'm sure is just as hard for a social studies instructor to teach social studies. I'm sure it's just as hard for an algebra instructor to teach algebra, but music is something that they're focused on, so I might as well talk about that. Music is very important, I find, especially to lower age students. I find that many students rely on recess and music class. They're both kind of an outlet for them, kind of a time to have fun. And although there's times to have fun in other classes, when you come to music class and you get to play your triangle with your friends and to shake their maracas and their tambourines, there's just something about it. There's just something about getting to create that music, and that is beautiful. But it's hard to replicate that beauty and that feeling when you're alone talking to your computer. Now, from what I've learned, it's very hard to conduct ensemble rehearsal within a Zoom call, within a Google Hangout. It's quite hard. But you can have one-on-one lessons. You can still play and you can still record. That's good, and that's very nice for an educator to check up on that progress. But something is missing. And one can try to explain the feeling of playing in an ensemble, but you can't really feel it until you experience it. The feeling of being part of a group, playing in unison and moving together, nothing beats it. Nothing beats that feeling of togetherness, being there with each other. After all this, you're thinking, God, this is wild. can I do? I'm a music educator. I want to continue to teach. I want to show my students that there's still music. What do I do? What can I how can I reach out to continue to create those bonds to keep the music making going? I have a few different strategies, and I'll do my best not to monotonously list them off. I think good ideas obviously is to continue lessons. Continue that connection with your students. Listen to them play. Play for them. Remind them that music can still be every day. Because a lot of those things, a lot of those students that the only time they played their instrument was in band class. So if you continue to keep that link up, continue to get them to keep playing, then they'll be reminded of what it feels like to be a musician. Within that same vein, remember that a lot of these students, they need socialization. They're not hanging out with their friends as much. They need people to talk to, and offering that line of communication is really important. Obviously, you're not a therapist, but you could still listen to them when they talk. I think one that's really important that I really enjoy. John Poland offered this one up to me. I think if you take a video of you warming up, you send it out to your band, I think that could be really beneficial to the group as a whole. Even the instruments that are not yours, those members of the band can still see that, I might be your band teacher, but I still warm up too. That kind of humanizing you. Outsourcing for lessons. This one is kind of specific. Times like these, everyone is got similar mindsets. People are struggling, but we want to continue. We want to keep teaching. I think reaching out to other professionals in your area of study could be beneficial. Now, obviously, some might turn you down as they're busy themselves, but others might come to your aid. I think we're all in this together. As much as we can help each other, we should. Another idea that was presented to me is small group playing. Students can play with a tick track, record their submissions and send it in, and next thing you know, you have a small ensemble. I think this isn't specifically teaching. I think this is more kind of fun little thing to do, but it's still important. It keeps those connections. And lastly, promote calm, good learning, and a healthy lifestyle. You are a role model to these students. You are important. They are going to listen to what you have to say. And it's very important that you keep your head up and you keep a positive mindset. Because that's what these students need. All in all, I think crisis is scary. And times like these, people get fearful. But music doesn't get scared. Music doesn't shy away. It won't go away. The volume may be turned down, but it's still playing in the background. keep playing. Thank you for listening. This was a very special episode of Michael's Corner. And as always, goodbye.